Awesome. So hello everyone, I'm Jorge Hernandez, Public Information Officer with the City of Albuquerque. Welcome to what until now is known as the Westside Emergency Housing Center, or the WEC. Today we're excited to share some of the progress and upcoming updates that we'll be making to the shelter shortly. You'll be hearing from Mayor Tim Keller, Health, Housing, and Homeless Director Gilbert Ramirez, and Homeless Innovation Officer Maria Wolf. First off, we're going to start off with the Mayor, Mayor Tim Keller.
Thanks. All right, well, thanks everyone for coming here today. I am going to glance at some notes just because I have some facts and figures here to share with you. But what we're sharing today is the culmination of a bit of a transformation, essentially, out here. And it's a transformation from what started in 2011 in an old jail, just as a reminder, that's what this place is. As in 2011, it was started as an emergency winter night shelter. I emphasize those things because that is all it was. It had no food. It had only housed people at night in the winter. And that's what it was basically until about 2018. 2018. And that was when we started to see homelessness, a huge rise in the city. Believe it or not, this was the beginning of the Coronado Park era, was really about 2016. And so when our administration came in, we said, hey, we need this shelter open 24/7. So in 2018, we kept it open year round. And then in 2019, we said, we've got to make sure that we're starting to do more out there because the need continues to be there. And so over the last several years, we have been transforming this into what it should have been all along, which is essentially a support center with services available for folks with no barriers to entry. And so that's why today we're sort of rechristening this the Gateway West, which of course is our vision to have gateway centers throughout the city. You all are well aware of the Gateway Center, which we now call Center because it's the center of all the gateways out on Gibson. And so this is the first, if you will, branch office. This is the Gateway West, and stay tuned because we do anticipate this fall at least one more version of a gateway in our community. The short answer is because we need it. We can obviously talk about all the reasons why, but one thing cities have to do is we have to deal with the problem on our streets, and the single quickest thing we can do is get folks off the street in a safe place for them to sleep. And so this has been the city's role, cities all across America, since cities were created. And so again, we've talked extensively about policies, we've talked about housing, we've talked about behavioral health treatment. All of those are needed and all of those are true. But there's still this question of where can you sleep tonight safely? And so this is why we continue to invest in this facility and why the Gateway West is right now our single largest shelter in the state of New Mexico. This place has had as many as 900 people staying the night in it. I stayed the night one night. It is something that has been a part of our response system for unhoused now for over a decade. But what we decided to do a couple of years ago, and with funding help from council and from the state legislature, is we decided this place also has to be appropriate for folks to sleep in. So what does that mean? It means all of the things that you see now here today. It means beds that are actually not falling apart. It means mattresses that are the right kind of mattresses for folks who are unhoused. It means showers that work. It means toilets that flush. By the way, none of those things existed several years ago. So I don't want to take lightly what these changes are, because once you see them, it's like, oh, whatever, it's a nice building now. It was not. We also added lighting. A lot of the lighting didn't even work. Even the flooring was a huge issue with respect to how we were able to clean it. This was on a septic system until 2 years ago, and 900 people were living out here. We now have sewer out here. Feel that nice, cool air. We did not have an air conditioner that worked out here several years ago either. We had a roof that leaked. And you all may have remembered and covered the multiple audits about how inadequate this facility was. So fortunately, we've been given the funding and our team has delivered on continuing to make this something that at least is appropriate for emergency sheltering. Now, what else does that mean? First off, just conceptually, we are doing this pod by pod. You are seeing a pod that has now been redone. Not all of them have. So we move people into a pod, redo a pod, and then move them out because there is literally nowhere else for people to go. On average, we have, in general, at least 300 people a day staying here. Again, I've seen it peaked at 900. And so it does ebb and flow. This is not meant to be a final stop for anyone. This is truly emergency shelter space. That's what it's for. But now we also have services out here. And so I want to touch on a few of these things. But I also forgot to mention that we have a kitchen. There literally was no food out here until several years ago. Now we have 3 meals a day. And so we're able to pair that with the beginning of services thanks to some amazing providers. Healthcare for the Homeless is out here. First Nations is out here with weekly clinics. And we also, now that we have a more stable environment, benefit from hundreds of volunteers who put these beds together. They were from Amazon, by the way. So donated by Amazon and volunteers who work at Amazon. But there's been a number of church groups, as you would expect, who come out here and help in all sorts of different ways. And that is exactly what we need. So this now, we believe, is at least part of a spectrum of services that we're trying to provide. We know we need more, and we need them as soon as we can. You heard about our youth shelter, which we're trying to do at the old San Mateo Inn. You've heard about our affordable housing and supportive housing complex that we're doing, that we finished at Los Altos Lofts, and of course at the Gateway. And so with that, let me touch on this. We have 19 vendors that are also holding resource fairs out here. A big thing for the community is they wanted outside space that was shaded. We actually have 2 shaded spaces. We also do take pets. And so we have a pet facility out back. We actually also have a basketball court. And so we want to use this facility as best that we can. Unfortunate that we have to do any of this. But again, we don't have the luxury every night of just complaining about problems. We also have to act on it. And that's what this facility represents, as well as the other ones that I mentioned. Now, we still need help. We need additional funding for this facility to finish it totally. We need additional funding for the Gateway, and we need a range of policy changes that would be helpful that we've talked about before. But in general, we're going to walk through what some of these changes are sort of monetarily and what else that we need. But before I introduce folks who should be familiar to you, I do want to highlight that we have a couple of wonderful new folks. They've been around either facilities or around the unhoused community for much of their career, but just so folks can put a face to name, Charlie Verplu, did I get it right? All right, so they are now the Deputy Director of Homelessness, or Unhoused.
Social Services Connection.
Thank you, Social Services and Connections. And so that's awesome, we have that slot filled. And then also on the facilities end, Charlie Salas Ramos is our Deputy COO, who's overseeing a number of these projects. So the 2 Charlies, meet the 2 Charlies. Critical people in our city. Now, I mention them because the last thing I want to do, I said where this facility started. I also want to remind you that when we came in, there was literally no Housing and Homelessness Department. That exists now. We have a director of it. It's a reflection of our priorities, what we're trying to do. Also, there was no deputy director or division for housing. And so we have that. We're not here to talk today about housing, but I want to remind we have also built the human resources and capabilities to try and provide these services at the city. None of that existed when we came in. So a focal point of that is our director of housing, health, and homelessness in any particular order, Triple H, Gilbert Ramirez.
Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Again, my name is Gilbert Ramirez. I am the director for Triple H, our new department. I want to welcome you all to this. I want to just backtrack a little bit. Prior to me stepping in January as director, I was the deputy director of behavioral health services, and we in 2018 prioritized building out some case management space area and a small medical clinic up front. We knew that was going to be vital for this facility because of the location of where this place was. It couldn't have been better timing to do that because shortly after that, COVID hit. And we were able to really work with our partners to integrate our hospital partners, our healthcare providers in the community to be able to add more healthcare services out here. And we had to do a lot of work in this facility to set up quarantine areas. You can imagine how hard it is to keep people isolated. We had curtained off areas. It was a total different making space for this. The other challenge that presented to us at that time was you had people in here 24/7 not leaving. All of us were kind of on shutdown. And so this facility got utilized a lot. And it didn't allow us to put the appropriate time, attention, or resources into the facility to keep it up. All facilities need rest if you've ever been in the business of running or overseeing facilities. Ours did not get that during the entire time of COVID. Our focus was to save lives, and I want to say my gratitude to our partners who did that. We saved a lot of lives. We were able to keep a lot of folks through this COVID pandemic in our community safe and taken care of. Coming out of COVID and stepping in as director in January, one of the very first presentations I did to council was our strategic capital improvement plan for this facility. I brought forward the fact that this facility needed about $8.9 million in repairs in regards to outdoor area and interior.
I'm just gonna hover with you here,
Yeah.
because I know where he is up next.
Absolutely. With that being said, I want to say that partners rallied. The county came forward and gave us $600,000, which allows us to actually purchase these beds and these mattresses. So we're extremely appreciative of that, and this flooring. City Council on May 6th actually unanimously authorized $22.5 million in the gross receipts tax improvement revenue bond sale, of which they dedicated $4.5 million of that to this facility. With that being said, it was full court press, and we have renovated 3 dormitories in this facility. We have 4 next stage for it to begin, and that is one huge step forward for the individuals that utilize this space, that need this, and understanding this is part of the continuum of care in our community. We need everything from a place for those who are unhoused in our neighborhoods to be able to be connected to services, moving on to housing navigation services, and then from there, affordable housing. I'm proud to say our department is in charge of making sure we have an impact in each of those specific areas, and we're doing our best to be able to push out the funding as soon as we get it to make sure that there is enough affordable housing in our community, that the shelter facilities that we have are adequate for those who do need them, and that we are leveraging housing navigation systems to make sure that you're not just sheltered. Someone's working with you on a path or program forward to be able to look at a more sustainable way of living. So without a doubt, we're very excited for you all to see this. I can tell you just some rough numbers. About $200,000 to $225,000 was the cost per dormitory. So we're about 3 in. You can do that math. We've got 4 staged up next to go. So you can say that the $4.5 million that was allocated to our department via that sale, that bond, is being used very quickly and dedicated to the interior design. We did add a warming kitchen prior to that allocation, and so that was it's up front, and you can see, and of course we renovated that. Security and safety is also very important for us here, so we're currently getting the bids to be able to look at security cameras for this facility and how we can improve the security presence. Because what we hear a lot of the time, sometimes may say it's not a safe environment, and that's not okay. We want it to be the safest it can be. And then lastly, the exterior area. We've got 5 shade canopies out, 3 on one side and 2 on another. We can do more. We definitely want to have a pet relief area. We want to have additional storage outside for the individuals. We want to have platforms and areas for providers to come and do more fairs. We had a very successful event in which they came out, they engaged the clients, they did everything from job fairs, resume connecting, we had clothing donations. We wish to do more of that, but then we also know the indoor area is pretty much maximized, so how can we accommodate outside as well? And we've explored other ideas as to how we can best utilize the property that we're on to make sure it is providing for the individuals who utilize the space the best they can. Now, I will go ahead and pivot over to Maria Wolf, who has been doing a lot of our homeless innovations, communications projects. She herself was here for the last 2 days with our volunteer partners building these beds. So huge gratitude. They were sending me the photos and saying, hey, we're doing a great job. And we already moved in folks and individuals right across the hall into those new spaces as soon as we finished it. And as soon as we're done with this, we'll have it move into this area and then start with the next. So with that, I'll pivot over to Maria Wolf, so you can kind of talk about our volunteers and others.
Thank you. So just to echo what Gilbert and Mayor Keller mentioned already, we were so fortunate to have more than 30 volunteers building 120 beds in 2 days. Half of them were from our Amazon neighbors right next door, and they've been great partners in helping us on so many levels. Then we also had a group of volunteers, everybody from like some Albuquerque High alums to just one of our former student interns. So we have a volunteer coordinator and we have a volunteer site where anybody who's interested in volunteering can be a part of these solutions. And in 6 weeks, we're going to be building another 120 beds and getting 2 more dorms ready. What a lot of people don't know is that we have in the summertime about 450 people a night staying here. Of those people, about 200 are over the age of 60. They're on fixed income and they can't afford an apartment right now. So we're working with them on trying to get them set up in a place, but there aren't a ton of affordable apartments available. So our housing division in our department is working hard on increasing how many houses are available. That's a key part of the picture of reducing homelessness. So we have about 200 who are over 60. We have close to 100 who are in wheelchairs, walkers, have very clear disabilities that make it difficult for them to spend the day on the streets. So they stay here all day. So we offer 3 meals a day. We are working on getting more case management so that everybody who's ready to sign up and get help, getting their documentation, getting intakes so that they can get housed, get treatment for medical or substance use issues or mental health issues. We know we have a wide variety of needs and we want to do better at serving those needs for everybody who's staying here. In the winter, we're going to go up to the full 660. We're probably going to need overflow. And so with all 12 dorms available here at this shelter, we're going to have the space for them and we're going to make sure anybody who needs a bed has access to a bed. So not only do we house all these people, we also on any night will have anywhere between 80 to like 120 pets, mostly dogs, because this is a low barrier shelter. People will not come into shelter if they have to leave their pets behind. And so we need to make sure there's a space for them. So we partner with many community providers to provide pet food, leashes, collars, and get them any of their vaccinations that they need as well. So don't forget, we also have a medical clinic on site to help triage cases. We have EMTs that work 13 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we also have partnerships with Healthcare for the Homeless, First Nations, Community Health, who do clinics here weekly. And we're just going to be increasing all of those services in the coming months. And that's a big part of what we're excited about today. These facilities and the improvements are just such a gift from council. And our partnership with Bernalillo County has allowed us to get started on a lot of this. And we'll need more to do the improvements that are needed outside because we have the opportunity to make this a safe retreat for people who need to get off the city streets. And we want it to feel like a place where they want to be. And we just want everybody to know they have a warm bed, they have a safe place, and they have a meal waiting for them when they come here. So we want them to know they're welcome to our new Gateway West. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Maria. So I think we can take questions, but I just want to mention there's so much more work to do, so much more help that we need. I want to highlight specifically one of our biggest challenges right now is the ability for our providers, and so we throw this word around, but this facility is run by Heading Home, and the services are all done by different entities like Healthcare for the Homeless and so forth. So we want to encourage, look, anyone in Albuquerque who wants to help out a provider, one of these nonprofits that does this work each and every day. It's much more effective than just trying to do it yourself. And especially for our faith-based groups, want to make sure you partner with one of our nonprofit certified providers. And then also these providers, so they desperately need even people just for hiring purposes. We have multiple contracts that are out. We need new nonprofits who are interested in this work. And now they at least have a respectable place to actually provide these services for folks. And so much more on that down the road. But right now, that is by far our biggest challenge, is availability of service providers to help at facilities like this and all over central Albuquerque. Okay.
That'll wrap up formal comments. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if this is for Mayor or one of you two, but you said you have 12 dorms or pods, as Mayor you call them. 3 are renovated so far. When do you hope to have the other ones completed by?
Thank you for the question. So our goal, understanding we need every bed we can have by the winter. So we have 4 scheduled next with the timeline to be done. That would put us at 7. It would be a nice gift. We have those stretch goals in there for our team and get 1 or 2 more added in there and have 8. But I will say for now, our goal on our timeline is to have 7 completed by October when the winter hits. We have to utilize the bed space and we can't shut it down. Right now we're having to shuffle folks because the census is a little lower, but that is our timeline.
I just want to add too, we went to Denver and other cities, and we are trying to spread people out a little bit more. So that's why you don't see necessarily bunks in the center, but you see bunks on the wall. Historically, everyone was bunked when we needed space. So part of expanding is also just to make it more livable space. And so we get that extra capacity, but we're also trying not to have everyone, in triple bunks all in one room. But, look, if there's an emergency, we can still do that.
Any other questions?
To complete all 12 dormitories, do you have enough funding? If not, how much more funding do you need to make that? It's close.
Thank you for that question. Well, so we're appropriated $4.5 million. We believe we'll be able to finish the dorm renovations and the basic beds as you see this standard. However, there are other modernization things that need to happen at this facility. I'm a big advocate also that we address the ADA needs of the individuals who are using this facility. So we have asks in to be able to get that additional funding to finish those areas. And without a doubt, the outside still needs some work, right? Prioritization is inside for that utilization, that flow over out there. There's also a budget that we'll need. So I would say for now, at this standard of rate for the dormitory remodels, we do have that funding to be able to do the modernizations, ADA upgrades that we need, as well as address the outdoor areas. We'll need additional funding beyond that. The original proposal I put together was $8.9 million. We've secured about 5 of that, so there's a shortage.
About how many beds are in each pod?
We are trying not to go over 60 per dormitory. And so if you do the 60 times we have 2 spaces that are built a little different, dormitories. They actually have walls and were utilized for something else when it was a prison. Those will give us a little bit of challenge as far as space utilization. And we have one other dormitory that actually had wood partitions placed in it. And we have to make a decision whether we remove those or if they're salvageable to be able to use and just put beds. So once we make the determination, majority of them look like this. And I believe 7 of the dormitories currently are dedicated to men, 4 to females, and 1 to couples. So, because we have couples here as well. So just for background.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
You mentioned the mattresses being appropriate for a shelter. What kind of mattresses do you need to be appropriate for an specific?
So, any shelter or hotel will tell you that you have to have things to mitigate for bed bugs, because people who are going various places can bring that in with them. So the first step for mitigation is to heat treat the items that people bring in. So every dorm has a hot box that brings all of the belongings up to 120 degrees, which will get rid of the bed bugs. When you go to the kitchen area, you will also see a big, almost room-sized hot box, so that like full cart loads of things can go into that for treatment. The second level of mitigation is making sure that you have mattresses and bed frames where there aren't nooks and crannies or like zipper lines where the bed bugs can hide. And so that's a part of what we're doing here. They're easy to clean, and they really are set up to be bedbug resistant frames and mattresses and pillows. And that's the number one reason that we wanted to do this. We also wanted to just have safer full-size bed frames. Before we had very narrow beds that didn't have ladders. And so we only have the bunks around the edges, and then we have the clear single beds across the middle. And if you look at shelters that are large congregation at shelters across the country, you'll see that that's best practice. You maintain an open line where everybody is in singles across the center, and you only have bunks on the edges. So, does that answer?
And water resistant.
Yeah, water resistant, of course, too, to make it easier to clean up, especially with all the puppy dogs we have around here. Yeah.
Awesome. We also want to show you all the kitchen, which is down on the other side, so time for a couple more questions. Anyone else? Okay.
Oh, you mentioned ADA compliance. What things need to be done to the shelter to make it ADA compliant?
Thank you for the question. So without a doubt, we would want to make sure that access to the beds, the shower bars, the sinks could be modernized to be able to meet those ADA requirements. So with that funding and dedicated funding, should we get it, we have some federal earmarks that we put in for requests that I believe, thanks to, I believe, Heinrich's office, Ben Ray Lujan's office, they're willing to champion. They have to go through the cycle, but if we were to receive that $2 million ask that we put in, we would be able to address that, have the facility assessed, and then of course they would provide, here's where you can do that. Pathways, as you see on the outer side, we have ramps that we've added. One of the additions we'd like to actually also add is not pressure-fying walkways and paths, because that's not kind to wheelchairs and or walkers. We'd like to improve that pavement and then add those additions. So I'm not an expert in the area of the modifications, but we do know they exist. We would have that assessment done and then invest the money accordingly.
Last one, you guys good? Awesome. All right, appreciate it. Thank you all for your time, and we'll wait for you all to pack up, and we'll walk you over to the kitchen.